Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 34 of the Salty Dog Podcast.
Let's get salty!
What's up, guys? It's episode 34 of the Salty Dog Podcast. I'm Clash, he's Dookie. What's up, Duke?
Hey, not much.
We are your salty captains, as always.
Ahoy there, lads!
Yahar! What be up with you, matey?
Oh, well, played a good amount of Hearthstone this week. Played a good amount of Monster Hunter this week.
I'm sure.
Well, actually, we haven't had a show we skipped a week.
We did, so we're on 2 weeks. What have you been doing last 2 weeks?
Yeah, but we did stream last Tuesday, so if you didn't know that we do that, we stream on this channel and on my Twitch channel every Tuesday at 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern.
Yes. Yeah, we move it. It's just shifted up an hour. It's an hour earlier.
Yeah. What do we do? We did some wild arenas, so...
Yeah. Which we're probably going to do again a little bit tonight because, hey, it's cool. Wild arenas.
Yeah.
We don't always get to do that anymore. It's like a rare privilege.
You got to do it while you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of, I'm trying to come up with a paladin deck that can get through this obnoxious warlock priest meta, and it's pretty much 50-50 if I win or not. So.
Right. Well, basically, the paladin strategy is just to like kill you by turn 6 or you lose. Like.
Yeah. There are a lot of times when I have to kind of hold out and then we'll just wait for that moment when the board's finally like open, and then I just like let everything loose. But yeah, ideally, you wanna get in there. You wanna hit fast and hard, hit it very hard and very fast.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of like Paladin doesn't have a very viable control archetype right now, other than the whole OTK thing with the Uther Death Knight, which is like you were gonna try that out, but you don't want to spend the 800 dust on the dirty rats, so that's kind of out, because those are about to be gone. And then
there's no sense in that. And
then mid-range decks are pretty much terrible right now. It's just really polarized right now because you've got to be full on like aggro smork in the early game, or you got to have like this insane like unbeatable late game. So mid-range decks just kind of flop, and I feel like Paladin usually does that really well, but at least right now they still have a really good aggro archetype, at least.
Yeah, you mean mid-range Paladin usually does really well?
Yeah, mid-range is usually like a Paladin forte,
Yeah, that's I tried that too, and it's just like, we're 8 turns in, and I have 3 cards in my hand, and the priest has 9 cards in their hand, and I'm just like, what went wrong here? Like, it's like, and clearly they have all the resources to deal with everything I throw down. So
right,
yeah, it's been whatever, but at least we have the wild arenas to entertain us in these dark times.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that it's really good timing for the wild arena. Everybody's getting a little sick of standard as it is, and it's just good to like it feels more like, even though you got to pay for it still to go in there, like I feel much less stressed out when I'm just playing some wild arena. It's like it feels more carefree in there.
Yeah.
Even though the stakes are like just as high, if not higher, because you paid for it. But whatever.
Right.
But on ladder, I've actually been playing Control Mage a lot recently with the Frostlich Jaina. And
that card.
Yeah, that card. I mean, it's good. It's definitely a good card. Like when you get it and you can actually play it and live to your next turn, which is sometimes harder to do than it seems like it would be. But it's been a lot of fun because I feel like Control Mage answers a lot of the prevalent things in the meta right now. You've got like a ton of board wipes, so for these like the Paladin decks that can keep reloading the board or whatever, you've got like double Blizzard, double Flame Strike, double Meteor, double Doomsayer, so like you can continually wipe the board. And then for the big priests and the control warlocks and stuff, you've got the transform effects with the polymorphs. And actually, I was getting so mad when I was playing it that I wouldn't draw my polymorphs against, like, especially big priests, because, like, it's so easy to counter them, especially if they don't get Barnes on curve, and, like, the first minion they play is, like, their Shadow Essence minion on 6.
Yeah.
It's so easy to counter that if you can just transform that first minion that they get. Because, like, all of their Eternal Servitudes in their hand still can't be played. You've shuffled a sheep into their stupid Mass Resurrect spell, the Spellstone, you know, so that they can't ever get full value out of that and stuff. But I would, like, never have the stupid polymorphs when I needed them. So I was getting really mad, and I just got so mad, and I went to my collection, and I just typed the word transform into there, just to see, like, if there was anything I wasn't thinking about, and there was. It's this old classic legendary that everyone's probably forgotten about called Tinkmaster Overspark. And
Tinkmaster.
Yes, and he's 3 mana, and he has he picks a random minion on board to turn into either a 5/5 Devilsaur or a 1/1 sheep. And like, basically, it doesn't matter which one he does against the decks that he's good against, right? Because the big priests, they Shadow Essence or whatever, they only have 1 minion on board, you don't have any minions on board. Doesn't matter if you turn it into a Devilsaur or a Squirrel, you've still screwed up their combo with the Eternal Servitudes and stuff. So that's been fun, when you just, like, kind of troll people with Tinkmaster and they totally don't see it coming.
Yeah, so. I might craft him and try that, because it's just these two decks, they're so similar in the way they work. They basically are cheesing out minions that they shouldn't be able to have early in the game, or just, you know, fucking flooding the board with 3 Void Walkers and 2 Void Lords, and you're like, wow, that's great. How do I get through that? So transforms definitely some good tech against that sort of thing. Definitely,
because silence doesn't cut it anymore, right? Like, because, okay, so you silence the statue, whatever, they've still got a 4/8, and then when you finally manage to kill that, then they just resurrect it, and it's exactly what it was before. And you have to deal with the same thing with the control warlock, because the Death Knight resurrects all the demons, N'Zoth resurrects all the, you know, stuff. So it doesn't matter if you hit their first incarnation. The cube refreshes it, you know, when it poops them back out and stuff. So silence literally doesn't do anything anymore, almost, which is so
and bad. Even if you do manage, like, they never even leave something on the board able to be silenced without, like, doing their combo and then passing the turn. So, like, you know, the Void Lord gets cubed, the cube gets pacted, and then they pass, and you're like, well, fuck, what do I do? And, like, your best bet is, like, when they throw out that early lackey, and you're just like, okay, wow, let me hope I have my silence, and I never do. So maybe crafting a little gnome.
Yeah, and even in that instance, right, where the first minion that Control Lock plays is Possessed Lackey, and, like, that's the only minion on the board, even if you turn that thing into a 5/5, like, even though it was a 2/2 or whatever, that's still good for you, because that 5/5 is not going to pull out a Void Lord when it dies, you know?
Exactly.
So, it's been fun, because people, like, you know, you see people just, like, get tilted by it. They'll, like, emote when you throw them out or whatever, when they realize, like, how bad it actually was for them, and it's pretty great. So
sorry, I'm smart.
They're like, it's like, wow. It's like, yeah, wow.
Yeah,
no
wow,
statue
indeed.
for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I've been basically doing.
More on that later.
Yeah, more on that later for sure. But yeah, I've been doing some ladder, been doing some of the Tavern Brawl, but mostly just tinkering with just, like, I'm you and I are both the same way. We're, like, meta breakers, you know, like, we don't like to pile on what's being played. So that's mostly what I've been doing, like, just trying to find these neat little techs for stuff.
Yeah, my thing that I've been working on is trying to abuse Call to Arms as much as possible, because in a lot of the normal aggro paladin builds, Call to Arms is pulling out, well, if you're running Keleseth, then it's only pulling out 1-drops, and it might pull him out and fuck that over. So, but a lot of them don't run him. So
yeah, I think that's kind of, like, dead, honestly.
Yeah. So, but normally what you're pulling out with Call to Arms is, like, a Firefly, which doesn't spawn the extra one, Otterus Veteran, which doesn't buff anything. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that has. It's a lot of little stuff that has like a battle cry or something that's just like comes out and it's just like a 2/1, and you're like, well,
right,
all right. I mean, it's a minion, it's a body, but like, can't we get more? So I've been tinkering with stuff like Loot Hoarder, so you get a card when that dies. Obviously, the 2/1/1 Divine Shields are in there. Knife Juggler is obviously in there. What's another one? Direwolf Alpha I found is pretty good.
Yeah, you definitely.
He can,
definitely.
as long as he doesn't come out on the very end, and then he's pretty good. Bluegill Warrior is one I've been messing with, because lots of times, like your call to arms turn will be like a board wipe recovery turn, and it would be really nice if you could just attack that turn too. So you call to arms and you get a 2/1 charge out there, then that kind of opens you up to some more options. And I've done some swapping of cards and trying to figure out what how greedy I want to be with it. And the greediest thing I tried
I remember this
was putting in Millhouse Mana Storm, because you can call to arms and pull out a 4/4. And
that one I still don't agree with you on, but hey.
Honestly, I think honestly, it probably only fucked me over like once. But you would not believe he's worse than Patches as far as like drawing him before I draw call to arms.
Hell yeah.
Like,
way
no,
worse.
I mean, I know his effect is obviously worse. It's worse when it happens, but I mean, for whatever reason, it's the same odds, but it just happens so much more often that I get Millhouse before I get a call to arms. But anyway, another one you mentioned, which I can't try but would be interesting, is Dirty Rat.
Yes.
Because you'd be pulling out a 2/6 from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was already getting done. Like, getting the 2/6s pulled out from call to arms is crazy, dude.
Yeah, and you can run Dirty Rat to try to snipe the cubes out of those Warlock's hands and stuff like that, like you mentioned when we were talking earlier. So that's mainly what I've been trying to do. Obviously, like, running Leroy, Sunkeeper Tarum, Blessing of Kings, Rallying Blade, Unidentified Maul, all that standard stuff. 2 Spellbreakers.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean,
yeah.
one thing, like, at least what I've been seeing, I mean, the aggro paladin has shifted a lot, just, like, back and forth between just, like, general aggro and Murloc. And right now I've been seeing mostly Murlocs. I think it's so much Murloc right now that I've been seeing, like, Hungry Crabs come down because people are just, like, sick of the Murlocs. So,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because Murlocs are the kind of minions that benefit from call to arms too. You've got like the Tide Collar, which gets buffed from all the Murlocs to get pulled out, and
so Murlocs benefit more from call to arms than non-Murlocs do, for sure. So, but I mean, I might bite the bullet and make it a Murloc deck.
Yeah, but I mean, basically those, like, you're either playing like the aggressive Murloc Paladin version, or you're playing Tempo Mage with all that face damage they can do, which is actually incredible. Like, Mage can do so much face damage right now.
That deck is
insane. Very cool. Or you're just like ultimate endgame value, which is like, I don't know. I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah. Definitely.
I hope that mid-range is kind of a thing in the next.
Mid-range is fun. Like, I can get on board with some mid-range any day of the week.
Yeah, any day of the week. So yeah, but other than that, I haven't been. I haven't actually played it even as much as I normally would be. I'm just so busy in everyday life. I'm actually trying to look for a place to purchase to live for the first time ever, rather than just literally throwing money out the door. So that's been a lot of consuming my time, and also just wishing I could play some fucking Monster Hunter, but I can't.
Yes, sir. It's fun.
This guy is constantly just like telling me about how awesome Monster Hunter is, and I'm like, I know. Shut up.
But listen, it's even more awesome than I previously stated.
So hopefully I get to do that soon. But as far as Hearthstone, like, what are we going to talk about in the show for Hearthstone this week? There's not like a whole lot of news.
No.
I mean, there's Wildfest, which we haven't talked about on the show yet, so we're going to kind of go through Wildfest.
We mentioned that it was going to happen, but we haven't talked about it.
Yeah. Since it's gone live, we haven't had a show. We would have last week, but we skipped it, obviously. Nothing else really of note. There hasn't been many new patches or any announcements of any new patches or cards revealed or anything. So
we need a new patches.
Yeah, we need a new patches since the last one doesn't get played anymore. There must always be a patches. He's like the new Highlander card.
He is the new Lich King. That should be it. It should be patches
the Lich King. Yeah. Oh my god, that's crazy.
I'm undead now.
Oh my god, no, please don't do it. Okay.
Fill your board with 2/2 ghouls with charge. Better pirates.
So we are going to have a little bit of news, just talk about the Wildfest. We'll have our Q&A, of course. We do have Salty Card segment back this week for the first time in a while. And, of course, we'll finish it off with our Homebrew Challenge. But for now, let's go through Wildfest and see what that's all about in our new segment.
What's happening?
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Time is money, friend. Keep it quick, kid. I ain't got all day.
All right, so Wildfest. Like, if you blinked, you might have missed that it actually happened. So, right. Basically, like, first, I just got to get my gripe out of the way. I feel like Wildfest was implemented a little poorly, but first, let's just say what it is. It started on February 19th. And it's going until March 11th, so we're we're only a couple days into it now. And basically, Arena is wild again, which is what it used to be when Standard was first implemented. So the entirety of every card that's ever been created in an expansion or adventure is draftable, unless it's, one of those special rules cards that you can't get, like Death Knights and stuff. Or they're just, like, terrible in Arena, so they blocked it.
Wait, you can't get Death Knights?
No, they blocked Death Knights.
In the Wildfest.
In Arena.
Is that recent? Yeah, because I remember it used to be able to.
You used to be able to, but they decided there was too much value packed into those individual cards to where it became like way tipped in favor of people who actually got a Death Knight.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, just like, aside from those little like caveats, you can get any card that's ever been printed, which is cool. It's like freshening things up. During this time period, the Tavern Brawls are going to be wild as well. So right now we have Venture into the Wild currently, which is you pick a class and it gives you a pre-constructed wild deck that's, been a deck that was like a good archetype in the past. So that's really cool. I like that aspect of it. I think that's the coolest part right now, aside from the Arena, because it allows people who are newer players or who never had that much of the older card base to experience some decks that will never be standard again, so
that's a good tip for those of you that are fairly new to Hearthstone. If you play the Tavern Brawl right now, they're going to hook you up with some, like, an actual, what a good pre-constructed deck, a good, like, player-built deck looks like. So, if that helps your deck building skills, just to see what kind of cards they use, what's good, see some synergies, stuff like that. So, I've been meaning to want to do it a little more. I did literally one game, of course, with Paladin.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. That deck warmed my heart. Had Buster, Shielded Minibot.
Of course. All the great
and
cards.
I even did the dude that gives your recruits +2/+2.
Oh, yeah. The Quartermaster. Yep.
Yeah, Quartermaster. Yep.
Yeah, that card was good.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. I actually want to do some more games. It's just I don't feel like there's a point once you get your pack, but
pretty much not.
I would like to see all the decks.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a wild meta snapshot, right? Like, basically they're using like meta wild decks. So these are decks that you could jump onto the wild ladder and like have a decent experience with, which is cool. It's cool for older players like us because we get to experience cards and decks that we haven't seen in a while, and it's cool for new players because you get to experience cards and decks you've never seen or played with.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and if you were looking to get into Wild, this is a cool way to see like what's good for each class too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the next week's Wild Tavern Brawl is going to be the one where you build the wild deck, right? And it's like a pay-to-enter thing.
Right, it's like the Heroic Tavern Brawl, but not, like, the stakes aren't as high. It's like an arena level.
Right, it's exactly the same cost, and win structure as Arena. So
Definitely.
it's kind of two polar sides of like, Hearthstone experience. Like if you don't have a lot of experience, the current Tavern Brawl is going to be more beneficial to you, and if you do have a lot of experience, you could probably take advantage of next week's Tavern Brawl.
Right. Well,
So
this is like getting your feet wet, Like
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
with those decks. Like I can say for sure that the Warlock deck is one of like the most amazing Warlock decks that's ever been, which is the Reno Kazakis Warlock Handlock.
Oh,
like I mean,
is that what?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It's got like every
Get that
board
outta
wipe
here.
in the book. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun to get in there and like experience that. But that's pretty much the extent of what Wildfest actually is. It basically really only hits the Arena and Tavern Brawl, which I mean that's a significant portion of the game, but they're generally like the modes that like especially Tavern Brawl like is kind of like a lesser talked about mode.
Yeah.
Also, like I fully expected them to like implement Wildfest in a more like grand way. Where like we've seen with the Frost and the Fire festivals, where you log into the client and there's like the snow falling on the game board and a hoon is talking to you and like telling you stuff, and I fully expected to log in and like get some kind of message like from the innkeeper like welcome to Wildfest,
Yeah.
something like, and have like the board all overgrown with vines and stuff, and like no, you just log in, nothing, not even like a little message like hey it's Wildfest bitch, like
So
nothing.
weird.
Yeah,
It's like sometimes they wake up one morning and they're like, you guys want to tell people about the event? I'm kind of hungover, bro. I don't think I'm going to do it.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like seemingly completely random when they decide to make an event actually like, make you aware that it's happening. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even when you actually click the Arena button, there's like vines in the background of it and stuff, but there's not even like a little pop-up message like, hey, Arena's wild for a little while.
It doesn't say anywhere
No, it
that
doesn't.
Arena. You could go in there and be like, "Oh fuck, it's wild. I didn't want that," and like,
Yeah.
actually be really upset about it. So
I don't get why they did it.
I don't know.
like
It's
that.
so it's just Blizzard things.
Yeah, hashtag just Blizzard things for real. So like even when Wild matters, Wild still doesn't matter, right? So
Yeah, it's like they're scared.
yeah.
It's like they're scared of Wild.
But that pretty much like that's the extent of Wildfest. I mean, it's like kind of cool. It's almost on par. I'd put it on par, like slightly better than October Brawl, but we're like in the same ballpark
Yeah,
as far as like how much of an impact on like the individual player's experience it
for
has.
real.
So, but I mean, it's kind of cool to go in there and just see the old cards. That's pretty much it.
Hey, before we move on to the next segment, shout outs to Katie, one of our live viewers, who just gave us 150 bits on Twitch.
Well, thank you very much. And we also actually, while we're doing this, I'm just going to go back, and we had a new subscriber, Mana X. Thank you for subscribing to my channel.
Oh,
Appreciate that.
badass. Give it up for Mana X. Show him the nice bed. Yeah, and, just shameless plug, you can subscribe to Clash's channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub every month on Twitch Prime.
That's right.
And you get a sweet, nice bed emote for those of you that watch the
Dookie.
VOD.
But created by Dookie Shed.
For those of you that watch the VOD, you know he has a very nice bed in the background, and we like to talk about it all the time. So,
Yes.
And shameless plug.
All right. But actually, before we move on to an official next segment, since we still haven't made a bump or anything, but hey, it's Q&A.
All right, you guys got Q's, we got A's.
We're moving to the Q&A early since there really is no news. So
There's no news.
no news is not good news when it comes to Hearthstone, but hey, it's coming soon. I can feel it. I feel like at the beginning of next month we're going to start seeing like teasers for the next patch. So next X pack. So all right, so first Q from Aorikos, who asks, if you had the power to create a sequel for one game, what would it be? And then he just like went in and stole our thunder so that we couldn't talk for another half an hour about the same game. He said no Legacy of Kain, even though it is a great game. He had to put that in there so we didn't like get really angry. So,
Yeah.
so no Legacy of Kain.
That honestly would have been my answer.
It would have been mine too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So you obviously listen to the show a lot and know exactly where we would have gone with that. So, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to go?
If you have it, go ahead, because I got to think for a second.
Well, even though this is already pretty likely to happen, just from everything I've heard and how successful the series has been, I still have to say Dragon Age, because I freaking love Dragon Age. Like, that's definitely, like, possibly just right behind Legacy of Kain for my favorite series ever. Like, definitely in the top 3. And I mean, for those of you who have ever like seen my online presence from years ago, I actually had a YouTube channel where I just did Dragon Age videos, just like a few of those. So like, I seriously dig Dragon Age, and like I said, it's more than likely that BioWare is gonna make the sequel regardless, but if there was any chance that it doesn't like get another sequel, I would be devastated. So
yeah,
definitely. I mean, Inquisition was like, oh my god, top like 5 favorite games of all time. So yep, that's my answer.
Yeah, I expected that answer from you.
Did you?
I guess what I'll say is, even though Mega Man 11 is happening, I feel like that's the safe play by Capcom.
Right.
And
okay.
I would like another X.
Yeah,
another Mega Man X.
I agree with that.
Would be fucking sick. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's Mega Man X hasn't been touched for over a decade easily.
Right.
So I would definitely, I think it skipped a generation. There was no last gen X. There was on PS2. So it would be, if they did one this generation, they could even totally change, not totally, but like totally revamp or even reboot Mega Man X. Like, the game could be 3D, like, as long as it's still good. That's all I care about, is if the game is a skill-based action platformer about killing robots and getting cool armor. Like, that's all I want.
Right.
And Zero. So, yeah, I'd say another Mega Man X game.
Aside from the obvious like flaws in like the story, the way the story was told, and just like a couple things about it, was it Prime? Was it Echoes, or that one that was that really cool side scroller that was still 3D graphics? What was that one? The Metroid. Yeah.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Other M?
Was it Other M? It was on. You were playing it on console, and it was like a side scroller, but the graphics were still really cool looking and like 3D and stuff. Yeah,
that was Other M. Man, yeah, I would love to see another Metroid game on that engine, like for console. I'm
talking about like a Mega Man X.
Mega Man X.
Style. Yes.
Mega Man X, like Other M style gameplay.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that was fun as fuck. I love that. Yeah, so yeah, something along those lines.
Like, I think that there's a way to preserve side-scrolling games in a very flashy, like, 3D model, like, updated way. And that's what I think Other M did. You know
Just
what I mean?
play Samus Returns and you'll know.
You're right. I still haven't played it.
It's so good. You should totally play.
Okay, I will.
I'm
always playing Hearthstone, dog. But
yeah.
All right, you want to take the next one?
Yes. This question was from Nate Wolf. I think this is a new viewer, or at least a long-time listener, first time saying stuff. So they said, I'm pissed about the change to Patch's new audio. Patch's new audio. Now he just says, arg. What do you think it should have been changed to? So there was the rumor, I think it was our boy Dougie, who said he was going to say, I'm on board now, instead of I'm in charge now. And I thought that was really clever.
It's super clever. Like, I was so disappointed the first time I saw him get played. And he was just like, they were like, he barely says anything. Like, it barely even sounds like arg. And yeah, like, I'm on board now. That makes so much sense. Like, okay, so they took away charge, but he still comes out onto the board. And also, what do pirates do? They board ships. Like, it's got like layers.
Yeah, dude. It would have made, or even like something like you're in charge now. It should have just been a spin on I'm in charge now. Like,
yeah.
Like, they should have kept that format, but maybe they couldn't get the voice actor in the studio in time. Like, you know,
maybe.
But
I don't think there's anything that captures the essence of the first card and the nerf and has as much like layers to the joke as I'm on board now. Like that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so perfect.
Maybe it was one of those rumors that was like, oh, well, that's so perfect that it must be the truth.
Right.
But as we know with game development, it's they never do the perfect thing.
Right. Which is so weird too. It's just like, I mean, you got to imagine that like if that was a popular like opinion getting thrown around on like forums and boards and stuff, like somebody from Blizzard had to see that, like even if it wasn't their own like idea for internally or whatever, and like be like, oh, I'm on board now, that's a really good idea, let's just use that. It's like they see it and they're like, we didn't think of it, we can't use it.
Right.
I don't know.
We should be game devs.
We really should be.
Yeah. All right, move out to LA and let's be game devs.
Everybody says that, but like I don't know. We always end up talking like the longest conversations we end up having are just like about like details of how we would like change or just like develop things or whatever. It's always been that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that would be fun.
Anyway, yeah, good question.
Good, very good question. So up next from the Prophet, who I think that's a similar situation to Nate, maybe first time talking or new listener. But if you could add any one mechanic to any existing game, which to which? That's such a broad question that I've been thinking about it for a while now, and I still don't even know how to answer that. Do you?
Can I give my joke answer?
Yes, you totally can.
All right.
I like your joke.
So if I could add any mechanic to an existing game, I would choose the mechanic from Final Fantasy 15. That's that really hot girl named Cindy, because she is a mechanic, and I would add her to Honey Pop.
There you go. He added a mechanic to a game.
I added a mechanic to a game.
It is a good question for our card challenge show, which was obviously to add a mechanic to Hearthstone.
Yeah. I want to add a stamina bar to Hearthstone.
Stamina bar? How does that...
I'm just kidding.
I would love to know how that would work. I don't know. That's a really good question.
You know, maybe something like the mechanic in Mega Man where you get your enemy's powers, but add that to drawing a blank. I don't know, anything, because it's really cool.
Get the powers, Metroid. There you go.
Yeah, sometimes you kind of do.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So what about the crazy... I'm just gonna call it like the dual class system, because I don't really know what else to call it, from Bravely Default into Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know, the awesome system from Bravely Default into a good game. That would be cool.
Yeah, into a good, yeah. God, oh man. Top 10 biggest game disappointments, man.
But I really love that system, though. Also, I just really love like very in-depth, like customizable builds in video games. That's like my main thing. Like I really liked it in Fire Emblem too. Like the whole like plan out your children to be the strongest children they can be.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll tell you one thing, my good man. You're gonna like Monster Hunter World.
Oh, what do you mean?
Because you can...
Oh, you mean like the customizability?
Yeah.
You almost made me think that like you could have like a talent tree, but it's just like on your armor. Like I got
yeah. But armor, charms, decorations, abilities, and I'll tell you what, if they ever made Monster Hunter like well, here, this is an answer to the question. The mechanic I would add from one game to another would be the relationships and romance mechanics from lots of the Dragon Age and like BioWare RPGs. Add that to Monster Hunter.
So that you could just fully live inside Monster Hunter.
Yeah. You would be 100% completely immersed with no hope of ever putting down the controller.
Because when you're not out slaying beasts, you're down slaying hearts.
So there you go. There's an answer.
There you go. That's good. All right, we both came up with something. All right, you want to take the last one?
Yeah, the last one is from Dougie Fresh. If you could buff one card that doesn't see play anymore, what would it be and why?
So I've got one.
I think, yeah, go ahead and talk about yours if you want. I think I need to think for a second about this.
So it wasn't like a caveat or anything that the card could not be a card that was previously nerfed. And like I thought about it for a while. This is the only one I could really think of, just because of the way that it was worded. It says doesn't see play anymore, so it wasn't a card that's never seen play. It was like something that was good and now isn't. So the only thing I could come up with is Call of the Wild, which obviously is a card that was nerfed, and I still think that like it might have been like a little unjustly nerfed, because it wasn't even like that oppressive at the time. And that 1 mana difference just somehow just totally destroyed the card. Like, it doesn't even get put in the spell hunter decks, which is nuts. Like, that's the insane card. That is the card that like is like a great spell for hunter, and it still doesn't get played. So yeah, honestly, Call of the Wild. I mean, I don't know how you would buff it other than just revert it to 8 mana.
Yeah, there's really not, like, summon half of Amisha. Like so
summon half versions of all the beasts. But yeah.
So yeah. My answer for that, and this is a great card and it may very well start seeing play again, but I have to say Antonidas.
Okay, well, Antonidas is an Exodia mage, which still gets played.
Yeah,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
He's not like Exodia mage is a cheese deck, you know. It's like big priest. It's like Q block. It's a deck that does some stupid crafty thing to unfairly steal the game from you, at least in my opinion. But you know, I miss seeing Antonidas in tempo mage. Because it was just worth it to, you know, back in the Flame Waker days. Because it was just worth it to, you know, be able to spawn some fireballs off of your cheaper spells.
Yeah, I mean, like, generally in other decks, like, you were playing Antonidas to maybe get, like, a fireball or two off of him. And that, but that was enough. Like, it gave you enough extra reach. And
actually, Thaurissan really helped. I think that was a big part. Thaurissan was a big reason that Antonidas saw more play back in the day.
You hate mana reduction effects, though, so...
I do, but I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't do it. my boom deck is something I've always been proud of.
Yeah.
And right now it's just secrets.
I definitely do miss the days where getting just an extra fireball or two off of Antonidas was enough. Like, I'm talking like the days before Druid was able to gain like 17 quintillion armor in one game.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's my justification for this answer. Remember when I told you I pulled a golden Antonidas, and do you remember your response?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said, hey, Antonidas kills the people.
Yeah, right. And if I pulled one today, I don't feel like you would say that.
Probably not. I'd be like, oh, well, I don't know. Do you have the quest? Like, pretty much like would be my answer, yeah.
But you were like, Antonidas will kill the people.
Yes.
It's like, okay, cool. So yeah, that's my answer.
I used to love
that was a tough one, Dougie. You're always asking us the burning questions. Actually, somebody asked us.
Oh, there was one more. If you want to,
if we'd rather commit arson or have arson committed against us.
Is that even like a tough question at all?
No, but listen. Well, if you commit arson, that's gonna be fun. But it's going to be a crime, and you're probably going to go to jail or whatever. Right. But if you get arson committed against you, you probably get insurance money.
Maybe. So. Well, that's true. But, I mean, I don't know. I just imagine, like, arson being committed on me. Like it sounds like I will be very badly burned, if not killed.
I believe that is called a homicide or aggravated assault. So I believe it would be arson on your property.
Okay. So, but what if I'm home?
You better get out. that one's high risk, high reward, and
I can't even believe you're like imagining taking not arson.
Listen, if I could burn something down and get away with it, I would definitely do that over
right
getting something burned down and taking the insurance money.
Right. So I don't know if you explained like why this question makes sense, but it's you always ask on the Twitter if people have any burning questions for us to answer. So that's the root of the joke.
So they're like, oh, burning questions, arson, So
yeah.
But I think that's it for our Q&A section.
Yeah, I think so. So now is a good time to do our salty card, which we haven't done in a while. So if you haven't seen a show where we've done it before, we in the spirit of the salty dog, we take a little portion of the show to get pissed about a card or two that is just ruining our days. So let's take a look at what we both decided is gonna be the salty card this week.
You gotta be kidding me! Necessary? What? Really?
So this is the card. You're looking at it. We were brainstorming while we were putting the show together, and we were like trying to think, do you have a salty card? I don't know. Do I have a salty card? And we thought of it like the exact same time. It is just like Eternal Servitude.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, then that should be the one for today, because if we literally both thought of it at the same time,
yeah,
clearly we have some. Well, the other reason it's Eternal Servitude is because we've already been plenty salty about. I don't remember if it was Lackey or Pact or Cube or Voidlord or like it's the whole package is one horrible thing, and we've already done that to death, and I'm pretty sure one or more of those has already been my salty card. So it was time to move on to shitting on Big Priest. So.
Yeah. Basically, like, obviously Big Priest is a really good deck, but the thing that always gets Dookie and I is that we get really tilted by archetypes with win conditions that seem like cheating.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not, obviously, because these are cards, and you use them, build decks to use them in specific ways or whatever, but I have specific gripes about Eternal Servitude this week because of the deck that I've been playing, so... like I was mentioning earlier, I've been playing a lot of Control Mage, which, I feel like every deck should at least be able to have a chance against other decks, and so the way that you can kind of combat the Control Warlocks and the Big Priests is to transform their minions, to turn them, because, as we were saying at the top of the show, silencing them doesn't do anything because these decks are built to bring the cards back over and over and over again. So one silence like equates to not much unless you've got lethal that turn.
Yeah.
So I run double polymorph, and I've even teched in the Tinkmaster Overspark, everything just to try to fuck up basically this specific card because it has such great potential for what it can get, and like. It just feels bad when, I've got the polymorph for every one of Big Priest's minions, like, early on, and I'm, like, totally fucking over their game plan, and they've just got, like, sheeps and squirrels and, like, barns and, like, dumb stuff in their pool, and then they manage to finally, like, you run out of transforms at some point. Like, you just can't fill your entire deck with transforms, and so they manage to stick that one minion, whether it's Statue or Ysera or Lich King or whatever, like, finally the minion you have to just straight up kill hits, and like Eternal Servitude just is gonna keep getting that minion for them. Like, even if you've managed to shuffle in 3 bad minions or something into it, it just seems like they always just manage to get
because
one out of it.
They're discovering out of a pool of 3. It's the discover thing that makes this so stupid. Like, we had a resurrect card, and I don't remember how much mana it was.
It was 2.
2, yeah. So you get a random one, but like 2 more mana to just fucking choose. Like, whichever one you want, like, there's so much power in that in card games like this, like being able to actually control the randomness.
Right.
And that's what always, it's like, and I see him use it and like one card pops up and I'm like, golly, I wonder what you're going to get.
Yeah. It's like yeah. And, you can only do so much, but it feels like after... you've done so much to like try to ruin that game plan, this card just comes along and just doesn't give a shit what you've transformed or silenced or anything else. So that's the problem I have with it. And like, obviously Big Priest just feels really oppressive when they hit Barns on 4, when they hit their Eternal Servitudes on whatever. Like, there's almost no way you can win. There's almost no deck that can beat that.
Yeah.
It's a deck that has to lose to itself, which I think is... Yeah, honestly, that's really what it is, and I think that's kind of unhealthy for the game.
Absolutely. They've said that. Like, they want the game to be interactive. They don't want you to win just because you drew a psychotic amount of aggro cards and just won on turn 4, and they don't want you to, win because you just said, who cares what my opponent's doing? I'm just going to do my thing until I win. Like Quest Mage was.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, Quest Rogue was.
Right. Yeah, those are, like, opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as, like... Because whenever you're playing a deck that basically ends up feeling like you're playing solitaire, like, basically... Big Priest doesn't care what you're doing unless you're transforming their minions, and then they get mad. But, like, they don't care what you're doing to them. They don't care if you're piling on face damage because they know they've got greater healing potions and statues later on. They don't care if you're destroying their minions at all because they're bringing them back. Again, it's a deck that plays solitaire. Like, it just tries to hit certain cards at certain times, and if it does it, you lose.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
I wonder if teching in Black Knight would be a good idea in the current. I mean, I realize it kills the thing.
Yeah,
but
well,
it could just be some temporary reprieve from the oppression of these insane. Because they're both of the big decks, Priest and Warlock, are using gigantic taunt minions. And if I could Black Knight that Void Lord and just deal with the 1/3s in one turn, I'd be looking a lot better than if I had to actually deal with the Void Lord, which basically for an aggro paladin, having to like hard remove the Void Lord with your minions by trading, that's called losing the game, basically. Like,
well, that's why, even though it's not the most effective means, aggro paladin does use Spellbreaker, because it is for that Void Lord that they finally get out, so that, like, the hope is that you can push through enough damage before they manage to cube it, or before they manage to get out their second one, or whatever it is that they're going to do, that you can kill them before that happens. But, and of course, these cards, like, you can't just look at them in a vacuum either. Like, if Big Priest only got to play 2 copies of Eternal Servitude in a game, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but that's not the world we live in. We live in a world with shadow visions. So you're looking at, like, at least usually about 3 copies of Eternal Servitude a game. Which just starts to get crazy. So anyway, that's basically my whole rant on the thing. What's the idea?
What if, this is a little off topic.
Okay.
But what if you put in, Acidic Swamp Ooze? So Call to Arms can hit a 3/2, but you can also get rid of the Skull of the Minari.
Well, yeah, but they have, like, anti-synergy with each other, because if you pull the ooze out, then you don't get the battle cry.
Well, sure, but it's still a good, because you're only teching it against, like, that one deck.
Well, true.
And you would run 2.
Yeah, so the hope would be you just mulligan into it, or draw it early enough, or don't get them both in your first Call to Arms or whatever.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't. So anyway, random thought. I'm trying to work out this puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, these are 2 different decks, obviously, but they do function in a similar way as far as their win condition, which is just, like, outvaluing you on board, which is, like, a strange thing.
Yeah, it's whack.
Because normally, like, value goes into your hand, right? But these, like, get mad value that goes straight onto the board, which is...
it's all just... It's all nonsense. It's tomfoolery.
It's
shenanigans.
It's not an honest blue-collar, like paycheck to paycheck win condition, okay? This is some white-collar Bernie May, fucking white-collar crime.
Freddie May, Bernie Mac, is that
whoever,
what it was?
Bernie Sanders,
Fannie Mae.
Dick Cheney, like, whatever the fuck, whoever. Just,
some
like, some Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street win condition, like, it's not cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that is enough saltiness, and we're about ready to move on to our card challenge segment. So just a quick catch you up on what the card challenge segment is, if perhaps you're joining us for the first time. We throw out a prompt at the end of every one of our shows for you guys, the listeners, anyone interested, to create a custom Hearthstone card that follows whatever instructions we gave out. So, for example, I'll tell you what my challenge was last week, which was to create a new mechanic for Hearthstone. So something like Death Rattle or Charge or any of the bold text mechanics that the game uses right now. Create a new one and then show us a card or two that uses that mechanic and like why it would be good or interesting or whatever. We just have a few simple rules for it. Basically, submit your card as a PNG. We use hearthcards.net. It's a super easy way. It gives you a PNG at the end. It's great. It's a great website to use. You can only create... the card that you create can only spawn up to, I think we were saying, 2 different cards in addition to itself at this point. So that's like a 3-card total for your submission. If you submit more than 1 card, we're only going to choose one of those submissions, if any, because it is, like a competition. We only choose 6 to highlight in the show. Even if they're all good, it's just... that's kind of what makes it a challenge, right? So we'll only pick 1, if any of them. Am I missing anything? I think that's pretty much it.
We kind of judge, when we pick our winners, we pick 6, right?
Yeah, we pick 6. Mm-hmm.
We kind of judge. We based it on creativity, balance, and would you see this card in Hearthstone? Yeah. So. If you submit something with a giant wall of text, Hearthstone, their tagline is deceptively simple,
insanely fun.
So they want to keep Hearthstone a simple to understand game. So stuff like giant text boxes. Even if your idea is great and your creativity is great, if it doesn't look like a Hearthstone card, then it might not make the cut. And of course, balance comes into play.
Yeah,
and that's probably the most advanced thing you need to know how to do. So it's probably the thing we would weight the least. But and of course, creativity is well, that's really cool. So
and it doesn't rule it out. It doesn't hard rule it out. If we think a card's overpowered or underpowered, but we really like the idea, we'll still bring it and we'll just talk about how we would possibly tweak the balance on it. But if the card, basically your perfect submission is something that feels like it fits into the Hearthstone game, it's really balanced as is. It takes advantage of other cards that are currently in the meta and stuff, just feels like it could just ninja its way right into the game right now. So, all right. So let's check out what mechanics people came up with and the cards that utilize those mechanics. All right, here we go.
Prepare yourself for the ultimate test.
So up first from a new submitter, first-time submitter, Dirge Starkiller. We have Terracar Protector. And this has the ability Halt. It's a 3-mana 1/4 with Halt and Taunt. So same stats there as Stonehill Defender, but what does Halt do? So what Halt does is as long as this minion is on the board, other keywords just don't function. So they're all shut down. So battle cries that are played when this is on the board don't activate. Death rattles of minions that die while this is on the board don't activate. Anything like that. Anything that's a keyword is just totally turned off. So I really like this idea, because this is the first thing that we've ever seen other than Dirty Rat that an opponent can do to stop battle cry effects, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a 3-mana 1/4 is not a game-breaking thing.
No, not at all. And it has Taunt, which makes it even more vulnerable to minion trades. So
yeah, for sure. But the fact that you might have to kind of go that little extra mile to get rid of this thing, because you can't just kill it with a battle cry, or a charge minion wouldn't work. So it's even though it's just a 1/4, you kind of have to deal with it.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, that's a neat idea.
I really like it. I mean, I think it's interesting to be able to... This is kind of something that allows you to interact with your opponent's turn a little bit. And it's in a way that does it within the confines of the mechanics of Hearthstone, which is cool.
Yeah.
So thanks
For
very
sure.
much, Dirge Starkiller. Hope to see some more from me in the future. All right, up next from Alekman, we have Ambush, which he created a little cool tooltip. This is something that you can do on hearthcards.net too.
Oh yeah, I meant to do that.
Yeah. So what Ambush says is when this minion attacks from stealth, or when any other friendly stealth minion attacks, do something. Which is totally like Hearthstone wording or whatever. It's like when you play this minion from your hand, do something. That's literally what Battlecry says. So
it's like, okay, I'll go get a soda.
So this card is called Long Eye Sniper. It is a hunter card. It's a 4-mana 4/5 with stealth, and it has the ambush effect to deal 3 damage to a random enemy. So I think this is, as far as like stat-wise and mana cost and the incredible ambush effect, it's like definitely overpowered, like as far as this is Yeti stats, and it's like really incredible. But I really, just like turn the stats down on this guy a little bit, like 4-mana 3/3, I think. And you've still got a great card because Ambush is activating not only when it attacks, whenever any stealth minion attacks, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I really like that concept.
Yeah, what it says is actually when this attacks from stealth or when a friendly stealth minion, so not stealthed minion, so any minion that has the stealth ability. Maybe. I don't know if that's what they intended.
Right. Well, I actually hope that that's not like how it was intended, because one thing that that popped in my head, even though this is the example provided is a hunter card, I think this would be an amazing mechanic for Rogue.
For sure.
To where there are cards that I've never seen play in Rogue that give minions stealth. I mean, we obviously... what was the card called that got banned to Wild? Is... Conceal. Conceal was the only one that ever really got saw play, but they have cards that like single target give stuff stealth, and this would be a great combo with that to trigger your ambush effects by using that. So I think it's cool. It's like all your little stealth assassin guys, they like help each other out and stuff, like from the shadows, which is pretty sick.
And the more ambush stuff you have in play, the more ridiculous it's going to be when each single stealth minion attacks. So
yeah, and there's like a cool consideration there. It's like, okay, so do I attack with my stealth minion with ambush, or do I leave him stealth so he has a higher chance of living to get more value off of its ambush effect? Like, there's some cool considerations to take into
it
account
incentivizes you to use stealth a little more craftily.
Yeah, and then cards that don't see play anymore suddenly start to look more attractive, like Worgen, Worgen Infiltrator, or Twisted Worgen, or any of these like low cost stealth minions. So
Twisted Worgen was another one I thought of for Call to Arms.
Oh, 3/1 stealth.
He comes out pretty strong.
Yeah, definitely.
But just a little weak to defile. But anyway,
everything's weak to defile.
Yeah, no, I really like this ability. So that was a cool one.
Very cool. All right, up next from Mana X, we have an ability called Channel. Let me just make sure I find this so I know exactly what to say about it. Okay, so it gains an effect based on a number of spells played before the card with Channel. For example, the first one on the left there, Angel of Faith, is an 8-mana 4/4 with Channel 4. So that means that the channel will come into effect if you play 4 spells before this, which would make it cost 4 then. And its battle cry is to restore 4 health to all friendly characters and draw 4 cards. So
pretty good.
Yeah, play 4 spells, get a 4-mana 4/4 that restores 4 health and draws 4 cards.
Does it have to be in your hand to channel?
Well, I would think so, because you have to play it from your hand. So
do you have to play the 4 spells that turn, or just
you have to play them in the same turn before that card? It's like combo almost.
So this would have to be some radiant elemental probably shenanigans.
Yeah, and that's why the effect is so powerful. I mean, you're not that sad to play an 8-mana 4/4 body and get 4 cards. I mean, that's not bad at all in the first place. But if you somehow manage to do a bunch of 0-cost spells like Silence and shit, this in Channel actually, especially in Priest, it synergizes with the legendary weapon, the Dragon Soul, to be casting a bunch of spells.
Yeah.
So. So the next one, the next example is a mage minion called Ritual Mage. It's a 3-mana 2/4 with channel, deal 3 damage. So this is almost word for word combo, but just they can only combo with spells. Because you only need to play one spell before you play the Ritual Mage, and then you get 3 damage. I like it. It's really similar to like Medivh's Valet, in the way that you have to do something first to get the benefit off of it. So that's very cool. And then there's another example, which is Channel X, which isn't something we've seen much of, if at all, in Hearthstone.
Yeah,
I think the closest we've gotten is
X.
forbidden spells, like Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Shaping and stuff. But basically, X is the way that would have to work in Hearthstone is it would use all the remaining mana that you have for that turn. So 2 mana, Blessing of Merit, Channel X, give the friendly minion +X/+X.
This is a good Linessa target.
Definitely.
Or Linessa's a good target for this.
Kind of, but like, what would the X be? Like, so if you had 10 mana crystals and you played Linessa, would she get +3/+3? Was that?
No. Because you'll play this on a minion earlier in the game, along with other buff spells, and then when Linessa comes out, this will get cast on her.
Right, but what will the X be?
Probably what it originally was.
Really? Oh, that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just wondering how that would work. It's a good question.
Yeah.
But yeah. So basically, you spend all your mana to give it +10/+10, or cast a 6-drop first, and then it gets +4/+4. So it's just really versatile. It's actually just straight up better than Blessing of Kings. Well, no, actually, because you got to pay that 2 mana forward. So the most that you can do is +8/+8 on 10 mana crystals.
Yeah.
So with 4 mana, you'd give it +2/+2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's interesting. It's like versatile.
It's flexible, which is where its power lies.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't mind seeing that whole forbidden, mechanic come back that we only saw on those few cards, like Forbidden Ancient, Forbidden Healing, all that stuff. It would be cool to see that come back.
Yeah, those were cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, up next from Rents and we have the ability Flame Body, which basically, if the minion deals damage to another minion, that minion will continue to take 1 damage every turn, I believe. Let me just verify this, so I know I'm saying it right.
Every turn equal to the number of...
They will, at the start of their turn, so at the start of the opponent's turn, the minion that was damaged will take 1 damage for X amount of turns. So Flame Body 3 would mean this 2/3 would connect with something, and then for the next 3 turns, if that thing didn't die, it will take 1 damage at the start of the next 3 turns of your opponent's turns, which is pretty cool because it's like a damage over time effect that if it basically allows this over time, this fire turtle's power to equal 5.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the Hot Gatekeeper. That is one Hot Gatekeeper. It's a 7 mana 2/8 taunt with Flame Body 5. So this is definitely like the best way to use that ability is on a low power minion with high attack. And forcing the minions to attack in, and they get this fire damage over time that leads to their inevitable demise, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. One thing we were talking about earlier before the show was that maybe Flame Body doesn't need a number. It's just it can just be the ability is Flame Body, and while that minion's still alive, it's going to take 1 damage every turn. Because things in Hearthstone don't usually last more than like 2 turns.
Yeah.
So honestly, nothing's going to survive the 5 Flame Body turns that it's inflicted with anyway, so why not just make it a thing that happens for the rest of the game? I
definitely think that it doesn't need to be restricted by any means, like especially if you just compare the Fire Turtle to the Cobra, the 3 mana 2/3 Cobra with Poisonous. I mean, that's just going to kill anything.
That's true.
It doesn't even need a few turns to do it. So these minions could even potentially be a little stronger. Like the Fire Turtle could just be a 3 mana 2/4 Flame Body, and I think that would be a pretty good minion. So but really cool idea.
Yeah, definitely, I like it.
All right, up next from I'm a Dragon, we have Monocrazed Raven, which is the new mechanic is called Glyph. which is an ability that only goes on to minions, and it says this minion also counts as a spell. And he says specifically that any effects that interact with spells will interact with this minion. Example, gaining attack when spell damage is on the board. So basically it's almost like if you have a +1 spell damage minion, when you play this will be a 3/1 instead of a 2/1.
Yep.
And also this would trigger counter spells or mana binds or other things.
You could discover this off of Glyph if it wasn't a rogue card.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. Honestly, I mean, I would love to be able to have, like a cheap minion like this. Well, first of all, let me read the minion. Monocrace Raven is a 2-mana 2/1 Glyph Wind Fury. So overall, like a minion that's probably just going to come out and die, but like something that you would want to have in a deck to trigger things like right now with Tempo Mage, they're going to have counter spells. It's like a perfect thing to just get that counter spell out of the way.
Yeah.
Or to combo with if there was anything that says when you cast a spell, like, I don't know what gets played in Rogue that uses that Gadget Sand Auctioneer. So
this minion itself isn't like great, but I feel like putting Glyph on some other types of minions would give them a lot of really interesting practical uses. Yeah. So I really liked this idea. This one was pretty cool. This is almost something you'd see in like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering already treats minions like this.
Well, yeah, creatures are spells.
Yeah.
But
so there's a little magic flair. Yeah.
Yeah, it is bringing a little magic flair. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. And up for our last one here, we actually have another new submitter, Arnon 120, with the ability Echo. So what Echo does is at the start of your next turn, you cast the spell again, which he says is basically like Magic the Gathering's Rebound. So we have another, kind of magic influence card here. So I think it's really cool. So in this example here, we have Echoing Roar, which is 4 mana. Give your characters +2 attack this turn with Echo. So obviously you're paying 1 more mana from Savage Roar to get this again at the start of your next turn. Which I think that this would probably need to go up to at least 5 mana to be balanced, just because like that's really powerful to get that effect twice. If you still manage to have any semblance of a board next turn, it's going to be brutal. But
it's cool because you don't have to worry about like this is going to be my killing blow, because you're like, well, I got next turn too. So
yeah. No, I think it's a really cool idea because, things that are powerful but that your opponent can have some time to deal with are the way to go in Hearthstone, because it feels more interactive. You're like, oh shit, it's going to Echoing Roar again next turn. Does he have charge minions? Does he have this or that? Like, how can I deal with this? How can I prepare? Yeah. Rather than, just like, Exodia Mage OTKing you or whatever. It's like this kind of stuff is the way to put some interactivity into the game, which is cool.
Yeah, and it's also kind of incentivizes, like, a lot of times on like a Savage Roar turn, you're not thinking about playing another minion because you want to get as many out as you can before you Savage Roar. But with this, you can play this, get a nice big attack in, play a minion, next turn that minion can attack and it gets the Echoing Roar. So
it can only attack if it has charge, right?
No, I mean the next turn. If you play Echoing Roar and then also play a minion in the same turn,
I see what you're saying.
Then next turn that minion's going to benefit from Echoing Roar.
You get it on like a decent board that can already attack while playing another one that's going to get the benefit next turn and possibly some charge minions.
So it requires less specific timing than Savage Roar, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But that's just that one particular example of Echo. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that you could do with this. Like Priest could have an Echo card that heals and heals again, and like you have a chance to like get in there and like find lethal before the second round of heal comes through.
Yeah.
Or, there's all kinds of stuff that you could do with that. So that's it as far as our 6 viewer selections. All of the ideas were really cool. It's always tough to eliminate stuff, but we felt like these were the most interesting. But hope to see all of you guys submitting again for next week's challenge, which Dookie will pose at the end of the show.
Yes, I
But
will.
first up, why don't you tell us what you came up with for this week's challenge, Duke?
All right. So as usual, I like to delve into some WoW lore or WoW mechanics when I come up with my custom cards. And I was thinking about the warrior ability Intercept, which is a charge that warriors can use during combat instead of to initiate combat, if that makes any sense. But and it reminded me of the Swamp King Dread ability, where when your minion comes down, he automatically attacks it.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about how Swamp King Dread's kind of uninteresting, but how that mechanic could be used in cooler ways. So I named the mechanic Intercept. So first example is an orc warrior. His name is Warsong Interceptor. He's a 4-mana 3/4 taunt with Enrage to gain Intercept, +1 attack, and immune while attacking. So, you know, he's not a hard minion to remove with spells or whatever, or minions that are already on the board. But anything you play once he's enraged, he's gonna tear it up.
He'll get 4 damage without taking any damage himself on any minion.
Yeah,
that gets played,
exactly. So it's just
pretty powerful.
It's a play around card, and you do have to enrage it. A 4-mana 3/4 taunt's not good. If he's not enraged, he's not good. So, but Warrior doesn't have a lot of trouble doing that. So,
right. So, like, you know, if you were actually playing the card Inner Rage, you could, you know, play him on 4, Inner Rage him, and he would get +3 attack. And he'd be a 6/3 that's immune when you play your next minion, which, I mean, that's good, but it's a combo, you know, and it's also not like undefeatable. Like, that's easily frost bolted.
It's frost boltable, yeah.
So, like, anything, or death, or, you know, there's a lot of things you could do to deal with it.
Yeah. So my next one, I made 3 cards for this just to get, you know, show you what you could do with the Intercept ability. The next one is called Ice Revenant. I was actually going to do Ice Rager, and then I realized that was a card.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
I wanted him to be angry, though, because he's got Intercept, which is like kind of a weird version of charge.
I do remember these damn things actually being able to do that to you, to like hyper over to you.
Yeah, they were pissed.
Yeah.
So Ice Revenant is a mage card. Oh, the previous card was a warrior card. Ice Revenant is a mage card. It's an elemental, 3-mana 1/5 with Intercept. Freeze any character damage by this minion. So he's only a 1/5, but every minion you play before he's off the board is gonna get hit by him and frozen.
Yeah.
So once again, it's a play around card. All Intercept is absolutely a play around mechanic. Like, you have to play around it. And then my last one, which I think this might be my favorite, just because of what it's called.
Yeah.
It's a rogue card, a 4-mana 1/3 with Intercept, Stealth, and Poisonous, much like Patient Assassin. Except this one is called Impatient Assassin because he's got the Intercept ability. Yeah. So your opponent has to play something that they're willing to sacrifice to this thing. I'm thinking now 3 health might have been too much.
I kind of don't think it's too much, because that way they can't, you know, like, easily pop it with, you know, dumb little minions like I don't know, like novice engineers and like stuff that actually gets played. Like, you can't just like throw out 2 of those and get rid of them. Like, it almost, like, you have to feed like at least 1 3 attack minion into him. Or, like,
he does cost 4, so you should have to feed a 4 cost minion into him, or
a combination of smaller cards. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think it's about right.
So anyway, I wanted to make that kind of bad ability of Swamp King Dread useful in some way. So
yeah, well, Swamp King Dread's still good, but he's a mid-range card, so he can't get played right now. But maybe in the future, I still see it for Dread. I still see it.
Yeah, I thought that card was going to be bananas when it first came out. So
yeah. All right, and lastly, I have my mechanic I created. It's called Aura. Which states generates an effect that lasts for the rest of the game. So basically, like, my idea for the concept behind this is that the spells are so powerful that they like permanently alter like the surroundings. Like, it like rips like a hole in space-time or some shit, and like and its effect lingers for the rest of the game. So they're epic spells. There'd be 1 for every class. Like, kind of think of them almost like a quest. They're sorry, not epic, legendary spells. And the first example I created is for Shaman. It's called Volatile Evolution. It's 5 mana to transform your minions into random minions that cost 1 more, so that's just evolve, but, 4 more mana. But it creates an aura that states after you play a minion, transform it into a random minion that costs 1 or more. So basically you're getting that evolve effect for free every time you put a minion on the board. So the way that would interact, just for example, say you're running Moat Lurker. Moat Lurker is 6 mana 3/3 that battle cries to destroy any minion, but also has the death rattle to bring it back. What would happen is you play the Moat Lurker, destroy your target, like whatever targeted minion, and it would immediately, after it hits the board, evolve into a 7-drop. Therefore, getting better stat line and also removing the ability for them to get their minion back. The way that it would work with another really popular card to use in Evolve Shaman, the Doppelgangster, is if you threw out Doppelgangster, which of course creates 2 copies of itself, it would hit the board first and create its copies, so they would still be 2/2s, and then it would transform into a 6-drop. So it wouldn't be that crazy. You couldn't get like that Doppelgangster turn for free. You would just get one of them to evolve. And the same thing for, Serenite Chain Gang and any other minion that spawns another minion off of it. Only the initial Battle Cry minion is going to benefit from this effect.
Right.
I balanced it around the Death Knight. The Death Knight comes down on 5 mana, gives you 5 armor, and evolves all your minions for 2 mana. I think this is totally fair, and I actually think it would benefit the archetype more than the Death Knight does. Just because, getting free effects is something that's really good. So
yeah, for sure.
The next one I created was the Mage one, which was Volatile Portal. 9 mana to summon a random 8-cost minion, and it creates the aura after you cast a spell, summon a random minion of that cost. So obviously this is very similar to Medivh. Medivh's 8 mana 7/7 that gives you a weapon with 3 charges that does the same thing as this aura. But there's a few things about it. First of all, I don't think Medivh was ever like oppressive or even that like really insane. Like I've never like wanted to make Medivh my salty card, or it's never like cornered like a portion of the meta or anything. It's not even seeing play right now. And I think that that's because of the limitation of the durability. You inevitably end up having to use like frost bolts and like dumb little spells just to stay alive, like secrets and stuff. And get like almost no value off of those few charges. That happens really often. I mean, you're lucky sometimes if you get 1 7-drop off of Atish. Like if you manage to get a Flame Strike in. So I think that getting potentially a better 8-drop than just a vanilla 7/7, and getting that effect for the rest of the game, and it being restricted to the mage class only, makes it balanced enough to where like it's actually something that could see a little more play than Medivh did. So
yeah, 9 mana is pretty steep, so
yeah,
they better have a pretty damn good effect.
Yeah, so like hopefully like your hope is you're getting something crazy like Rag Lightlord or Tyrion or like one of those great 8-drops, and you're also getting like value that's going to persist through the rest of the game. So that's Aura.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
I've always wanted like those static effects to enter into the game, and like I just wanted to show like they don't have to be like boring static effects like +1/+1 to your death rattle minions, or like something really dumb. Like it can be a static effect that like already utilizes something that's like unique to the class. And
so will the card take up a spot on your board? So it's there.
I mean, I guess that's the way Hearthstone rolls. Like, I hadn't really thought of it, but I guess that's how it rolls. Like, honestly, like, it'd be better if it didn't, right? Like, especially if you're playing, like, you'd love to play Volatile Portal in a deck with, like, Alana the Dragon Caller, and then that's going to be taking up one of the slots that your dragons could have.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, another way that it could do it, I think, is that it could just be like a quest. Like, it could be on, like, your little hero portrait as a reminder. I would prefer. Okay. I'm going to say that's how it works because I created it. So that's how it works. It just sits there like a secret or a quest or whatever. So it can be hovered over and show you what it's doing.
Yeah, that works. That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that. So do you, Dookie? Here's the question: have the next challenge?
I think I might.
You think you might?
I
Okay.
think I might.
All right.
right.
Well, let's see if you do.
So this is gonna get crazy, but that's okay because I want you guys to be able to have some fun with this.
Okay.
So hearthcards.net, does it allow you to create custom heroes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does, but like I can verify that quickly. Let's see.
So if this works, the challenge is going to be create just a brand spanking new hero for Hearthstone. You know, you can call it whatever class you want. It can be one of the existing classes. You can make up a class, give it a hero power that you think is balanced but interesting.
Yes, you can create heroes.
Okay. If you wanna make a couple cards, maybe like if you wanna make like 3 cards, up to you, just to kind of show like what that class will do or whatever. If not, that's totally fine. But base it on whatever you want. It can be an OC, it could be from some, you know, a game or a show or movie or something that you like. Just have fun with it and make those hero powers interesting.
Okay, so just for a little clarification on how this could work, if you go to the hearthcards.net page, on the left hand side you'll see type. So what you're gonna have to do is, first off, you're gonna have to click the portrait one, because the one that says hero is gonna create like a Death Knight type hero card.
Yeah, we don't want a card that. Yeah, we don't want a card that. We don't want a Death Knight card that replaces your hero. We want a new hero.
Yeah. So what you're gonna want to click is portrait. And in that, all you're going to put is the picture of whoever it is that you're making. And there are also, like, if you're interested in using any of the ones that Hearthcards already has created, there's a few already on there, like Death Knight, Monk, Lich, Demon Hunter, Archmage. So there are those if that's already your idea anyway. But if you're really starting from scratch, you click portrait first, make the hero there, and then you're going to click power to create their hero power. Then you can put those side by side. That's basically like you made your class there, and then the cards will illustrate what that class does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I believe if you, well, it doesn't matter. Like, let's say you're a sea witch. That doesn't even have a picture. That you add your own picture.
Yeah, you would still have the ability to add your own picture if you use one of these custom classes.
Yeah. So
you have some options there.
Yeah, it's all still there on Hearthcard. So yeah, you use the portrait button to make the hero. Use the power button to make the hero power.
Yes,
and if you want to make a couple cards,
yeah,
I would say make no more than 2 cards to go along with it, because we want everything to fit on a slide.
Yeah, and we also already have the portrait and the hero power. I think 2 cards works well.
Well, yeah, if you want to make 2 cards to go with your new hero, go nuts.
Yeah, no, I like this one. This is something that I've thought a lot about and done from time to time myself. So
yeah.
All right, so I think that about wraps up the show for this week. Not entirely eventful as far as new news for Hearthstone, but hopefully we got some stuff coming out in the near future.
Yeah, I think we're due for something juicy.
So anyway, thanks everybody that came out. As far as where to find us, I mean, you've already found me. We're on my channel. It's at I'm at twitch.tv /clash_HS. That's the same as my Twitter handle, which is at @clash_HS. Dookie, you want to tell them where they can find you and your stuff?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at DookieShed, spelled like it sounds. And you can watch me on Twitch. I stream Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, Friday, sometimes the weekend. Twitch.tv/DookieShed. And we stream together Tuesdays, as we mentioned before.
Yeah.
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We stream sometimes Hearthstone, sometimes other stuff. In the future, it will be lots and lots and lots of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So, make sure you like us or give us good ratings wherever you watch or listen. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you're listening on iTunes, give us whatever they do.
5 apples. Give
apples.
us all 5 apples.
2 rotten apples. Unsubscribe.
Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for all of our listeners. You guys that come out and watch us live and everything. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to talk about next week. And we'd love to see you on Tuesday for our gameplay stream. But until next time, guys, stay salty.
Stay salty.